Hi everybody, Scott Freymuller with The Knot. I'm the host and I'm here with my co-host Shelly on He Said, She Said. So we got ourselves a couple glasses of wine here and the laughs started before we even started this video. So we're going to do a segment on Choose Your Thought, which is why I wore my happy shirt. And this is really about the ability to choose your thought, choose your state of mind, and you know, how that works, you know, in daily life. And I know that sounds weird, but I think we'll explain a little bit better as we get going in here. So you as a life coach, relationship coach, you talk to tons of people, men and women. And, you know, as we talk about life or talk about problems in our life or whatever, it's you know, trauma is trauma, subconscious, we already talked about all that stuff. But how you choose your thought every day and where you're at mentally is a huge deal, right? But you can choose your thought.
Yes.
Tell me your thoughts on that.
I think the premise of what we're talking about is that your mind can only hold one thought at a time. Can you think about
Agreed.
that? Right? Agreed.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and similar to the story you told about the leaf going down the river, it's like you allow it for 90 seconds. So that's allowing the thought for 90 seconds. But if you are caught in a negative thought loop and you continue in that process, it's like a train and hooking more cars onto a train. And if you stick with the thought that you are aware you're with, and it's not something, this is different than, you know, processing emotion, trying to get through, you know, actually getting through something that is going to take you someplace that's better after you process or as you go through it. So this is different. It's like, I don't know, somebody called and they told you that you did a bad job at whatever it was, and it was actually the content, or it was actually the work, or it was actually, but you assigned to yourself, oh my God, I'm a piece of shit. You know, I can't believe I did that again. I disappointed him. You go into this whole thing, and then it's like touching on, you know, self-esteem and, you know,
So your self-talk.
Your self-talk. So it's
Right.
those thoughts.
It
so
puts
then,
you in a negative mood.
So you
or
could.
positive
Some
mood.
people would spend days in that thought loop, and everybody would call, "How's your day going?" "Oh, you can't believe this," and this person called me, and then they told me this, and you know, I know I did it once before, but you know, I know they think I suck, and people do this, and so they choose it and they stay there, and it becomes far more than a thought, and then it becomes a mindset, and then it becomes like, you know,
a habit and a personality.
A habit and a personality,
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
So
Some people do have a negative personality.
I agree.
That's their nature.
I agree. But that's the idea of choosing a thought. It's like if you're there and you know you're there and it's not going to gain you anything, then what I like to do is just stop and try to reframe it and move into a place where you don't stay where you are, so you don't get stuck.
I think you're right, clearly, as usual. The thing I want to add to that though is that you choose your thoughts. Like we talk about the leaf going down the river, right? Biologically, a thought only lasts 90 seconds. And the only reason why you stay in that state of mind is if you choose that, right? So you can choose to be angry, happy, whatever. And I think we've exhausted that example to the nth degree, but it's still an important example. The reason why I say that is because we talk about truth, we talk about self-realization, we talk about self-awareness, all that kind of stuff. And your thoughts and the thoughts you choose have to do with that, right? And you know, we use the example all the time of somebody cutting you off down the freeway. Well, your first thought is that how could he possibly, right? And maybe your first emotion might be anger. And you quickly rationalize that into, hopefully we do, right? We rationalize that into, oh my God, this isn't about me. Why would I get angry at this? And how can I let the outside world affect my mood, right? Because that's immaturity, right? That's in your child's mind.
Right.
Now, if we're in our adult mind, we're going to say, okay, this isn't about me. I shouldn't be angry about this because it's not about me. And why would I let something outside my world affect my mood?
Right.
So I'm going to choose to be joyful and happy because that's my state of mind. That's not my emotion. That's my state of mind. So the thought you have and the response you have to things is directly related to your state of mind and what you choose, right?
Right.
So you know, I chose my happy shirt because I'm happy. Like that's my state of mind right now.
Tell me what made it the happy shirt.
It's my happy shirt because I never wear purple, and it's blue polka dotty. I'd never wear a shirt like this. I don't think this is brand new. I just took the tags off it just today.
Oh, so you bought it and you're like, this is my happy shirt.
Yeah.
So when you saw it.
Yeah.
And your thought was, this is my happy shirt.
I'm going to look cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you see what you're doing?
Yeah.
Grabbing a hold of positive thought.
See? Yeah. Because it makes me laugh. It made me laugh when I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to get that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is generally how I do everything. So you choose your thought. You choose your thought in the moment, but you also choose your life too, to affect your thoughts. And we talked about counseling. And we talked about the people we choose in our life and the people we have around us and the support system and all those things. Those all affect your mood, right? And if you choose poorly, that can affect your mood negatively. And if you choose people that uplift you, like we talked about before, and promote you, and like it was funny, the ULA conversation that we had about all the things in your life, like fitness and
The pie?
Yeah, the pie. How effective is that? That's massive, right? Like if your pie's full and your wheel roll's good, that's a really
Yeah.
I even get that.
I use it.
Right?
It's amazing.
It makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
it's important.
Fitness is one of them, and
Sure.
keep yourself healthy, and not drinking too much, all that kind of stuff, right? Like you don't want to create drama when there isn't any, right? So manage your life appropriately,
Right.
and manage your thoughts appropriately. But you can choose them.
Well, what's interesting too, I think, is if we're in a place of needing help or needing growth or post-trauma and we're not aware that we're affected, we might be in a situation, and I know you know this, but because you've been there and I've been there, we might be in a situation where we keep ourselves in that situation where it is completely negative. And we adopt that as normal. So we normalize negativity, and we choose that. We choose the thoughts we have around it. We choose to assign the emotions as okay. We choose to assign the actions as okay. And it takes something to get you to a place where you understand that you have a choice. So it's not just about choosing, it's understanding that you have a choice. And some people don't realize that there's power in choice, or that they even have a choice.
Absolutely. Well, that's why we have this show, right? So we can teach people that, so we can identify, what those red flags are, right?
Yes.
And I just grabbed my whoopee to talk about
And you
it
sat
too.
back.
Yeah, and I sat back because I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, God dang it, gosh darn it, frickin' fracking,
Yeah, that.
And
Yeah.
and that's the problem, right? You choose poorly because you're in a bad state of mind. You're in a weak position. You don't have a high self-esteem. You don't have a high self-worth. You're missing that whole thing, whether it's like your subconscious or a traumatic event or whatever. And that has all to do with your thoughts, whether they're subconscious or conscious.
Right.
And training yourself and identifying things in your life that can change that is a huge deal. So this all ties back to the same thing. I do think, and I'm not trying to say, and I would never say, if you're pissed off at something, it's okay to be angry, right?
It is okay.
If you're sad about something, it's okay to cry.
Absolutely,
If you're
it's okay
happy
to-
about something, you
It's
laugh.
It's
But-
okay to have the emotion, but it's not okay to get stuck in.
In the emotion, right?
Right.
Like if say I laughed
And
all
then
day.
allow that to control you.
Right. And that's the thing, right? Like somebody who's laughing all day, you're like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like you're fake, right? You can't laugh all day long.
No.
I mean, maybe, but not really.
You can, but there's,
So I just thought about not without drugs, but anyways, yeah. But
zip it.
back to this thought thing. You choose your life, and I chose my life, right? And I'm responsible for it, of course, like everybody is. But you choose your mood as you're going through your life, and that's part of gratitude. When I made that list of people to date, and now I'm not dating anybody because of my list. Gratitude's number one on that list, because if you're not grateful, then you don't understand any of this stuff.
Right.
Right. And if you're not grateful, then you don't appreciate your life.
Right.
Whatever's in it. And I appreciate all of it, the positive and the negative, because I wouldn't be here now unless I had it all.
But you have to look at the contrary too, which is why we're having this conversation, for people to understand, or maybe something will resonate, is if you're not in a state of gratitude, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Ask yourself why.
Why do you feel angry? Why do you feel resentful? Why do you feel like you deserve more? Why do you feel like everyone has it better? Why do you feel like the next best thing is going to fix everything for you? So those are the big questions.
Right.
And
why don't you want to work, say, on your relationship now? Like, why don't you want to work on it? Because you're really not interested in it? Because you're too scared to say that?
Sure.
So you're going to like blow it up and sabotage it
Sure.
and be mean and shitty, so the other person, you know what I mean? Like, you have to ask yourself why all the time.
Right.
That was actually a challenge that I got yesterday. I went and had a consult with Heidi, and I was like, hey, and she watched some of our stuff and she really liked it, and I asked her opinion on it, and she said, you guys should really dive into the why. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, the why is always pretty much the same answer.
I
Like
mean, I think the foundation of it, but there are a lot of other layers. So, and it takes so long for it takes, sometimes 20 years for someone to peel back the layers of the onion, right? So even though the foundation might be truth and self-love, up here we've got the first why, which is, why did you accept letting someone treat you in a certain way? Well, because I thought it was normal.
But why?
I thought I was normal. Yeah, but it's going to take a lot to get to, I don't have any self-love.
I don't know. I think now, so for example, you're driving here, somebody cuts you off, you get pissed.
I don't.
I know. But say you did.
I just figure I was not
Like
in the right
hypothetical.
lane or whatever.
But I would sometimes, right? Like I get mad.
Right.
Okay, why am I mad?
Right. I
Because
understand.
it's control, or it's really about something else. Because it's definitely not about that situation. Or your example of, why was I in a bad situation? Because I didn't establish boundaries. Because I didn't have enough self-esteem to say, no, this isn't working, and then take the appropriate action when it didn't change. Or to simply listen to the action of the other person that said they just don't give a fuck.
Right.
Right? Those all have to do with the same thing. It all has to do with self-esteem. It all has to do with self-worth. For me.
Yes.
I think generally it does.
And fear of abandonment.
That's all
sometimes.
Self-esteem, though, because you wouldn't give a shit about abandonment if you had good self-worth. You'd be like, fuck it.
Right.
I'm
It's not
fine.
giving a shit. It's a trigger.
Yeah, it is a trigger, but it's also, it goes back to that awareness and all the other things that we talk about. And it's important to understand that all relates back to self-worth.
Right.
And if you're shameful or you think poorly of yourself, then those things would affect you and you wouldn't take the appropriate action. Like I didn't.
Right.
And now I would. Right? So, and my case in point is, and I'm not saying I'm like healed by any means, because I'm not. I'm a work in progress, and I always will be.
We all are.
And I'll always continue this path, always, no matter what. Point is that establishing those standards, agree with them or you don't agree with them, put me in a place of choosing, number one, and I choose not to be with somebody who isn't going to be good for me in my life based on what I want. And then also, you write down what you want in your life, and then you become that, so you can attract it. Joe Dispenza does a whole.
He does.
The guy's amazing, by the way.
He does. I love him.
I love him too. I listen to him all the time.
Cerebral
But he does
crush on him,
he does a
big time.
ton of work on that and a
Yeah.
ton of instruction on that exact thing. And he describes it just like that. Write down what you want in your life, and then become it. Like if you don't want to have
it's choosing your thought, choosing your goal. It's like
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah,
Everything
become
is
it
a
then.
choice. But I think a lot of it is about people not understanding they have a choice. And it's when you're conditioned with that limited mindset, and you're conditioned with everything in life has to be hard, and you don't deserve, then all that stuff wrapped together puts you in a place where you normalize less than.
Yeah, and sometimes I think you choose the thought of, oh my God, it's too good now. Something shitty's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, you actually attract that.
Especially
when
if
you
you've been through trauma.
Yeah.
And then you live in that state of what Carrie was talking about, which is waiting for the other shoe to drop, which is absolutely so true for people, especially people with high anxiety.
Or
Constantly.
people that have a lot of trauma.
Trauma,
They're like, oh, well, they're
anxiety,
waiting for the next
anxiety
thing.
from trauma, whatever it is. But their state of happiness, joy, happiness, temporary, joy is a permanent state of consciousness. But where they are with that is completely different from where we are, because they think they're happy,
Right.
and they think they're joyful. It goes back to that self-awareness.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't take that away from them, because that's
No,
them.
no.
That's who
Of
they
course
are.
not. Yeah.
So, and unless something happens where they decide, oh, this isn't good enough, this doesn't feel right, this is too much, or they have a like Brian did with an event where he's just all of a sudden he was 50 and he was having this
anxiety,
anxiety
Oh
and
my God.
meltdown.
Yeah.
So it takes that significant emotional event, that significant reaction, to where someone wakes up, for lack of a better term, or just has this realization of, wait, this isn't
Yeah.
okay, and that's what it takes.
And when we talk about choosing thoughts, we're going to have Charlotte and Destry Abbott on next week, and they're an amazing couple. And the most powerful thing about that story is that they choose to be happy. And just like Brian chose to be happy and move forward. I chose to want to be the best person I can be and move forward. So did you, right? So did Carrie. So did Shaney.
Right.
And that's the point, right? You have to choose it. And once you choose it and you're on that path, then it makes you accountable. Then there's room for healing. And then you talk about your truth. Now you heal even more. So again, you're everything's a choice. Your relationships are a choice. Your thoughts are a choice. Everything in your life's a choice. Now, I'm not saying that, some people have such an unfortunate situation where
I
they
understand.
can't choose to just get out of it. But I will say that your mindset really, really impacts your situation.
It does, yeah.
And it can make it better or essentially worse. So there is that power. And you can't say that power doesn't exist because everybody has it. Now, unless, of course, again, I'm not a mental health professional, but I understand that you could also be in a chemical state mentally where you couldn't change that.
Sure.
And I get it. But generally, that's true.
I have a good example of that. So after my husband died, I remember the attorney that I was working with on his estate and everything. He was the funniest guy. And in fact, when we went to meet with him, we were doing estate planning. My husband wanted to leave everything to our 2 dogs, even though we had 5 kids. So that was pretty funny. But it just got into this whole thing, and we got in this great rapport of, laughing and telling jokes and everything. So after he died, and then I called him, and we started talking. And this was like, immediately after. And then as time went on, I talked to him like a week later, and whatever, every few days. And he was like, I just got to tell you, like, where you are and your state of mind is amazing. We're telling jokes and laughing, but we're still going through the process,
Yeah.
and I'm sad and I'm grieving. And
That's part of it, though. That's part of choosing.
It is. But what he told me was, and this is just a really good example, he had another client whose husband had passed away 2 years prior. And he said, I just have to tell you like what this means to me to have a client like you. And he said that she basically just locked herself in her house and didn't associate with anybody anymore, didn't go out, didn't have any friends.
That was her path.
Ignored her family and got cirrhosis and died.
That was her path.
That was her path. And that's, that was what she chose as far as how to process and how to deal. But it was just, it was like the day something like that happens, and as you step out of it, you have a choice, I feel like.
And that does, and not to take away from that, but my point I was going to make a point.
Yeah.
Is that, that state of mind affects your stress level.
Absolutely.
It affects the impact, but at the same time, you don't want to hide it either.
No.
Like, you still need to grieve and go through the process, but you don't want to hide it. But it does, your thoughts affect your stress level, and, living in the past, you motherfucker, look what you did to me. And you live in that world, in that state all the time.
Sure.
Well, why? Why do you choose that? Because you don't want to be there? Because you really actually want to be that person? You want to be negative all the time? Or do you change your situation and hide from it? Going relationship to relationship, just hiding from the problems that you never solved.
Right.
But again, it's a choice like what you're saying, but I think that your mental state absolutely affects your physical well-being.
I think
100%.
another example that I see a lot is people who say that they forgave someone and they're good, but then they continuously will bring up a reference to the story or how they were hurt by the person,
Right.
or as soon as something comes up with the person's name, then it goes back to the whole Pandora's
that's not
box
forgiveness.
and that's not forgiveness. But what I was going to say is that they're living with resentment and anger and all that buried stuff that that definitely needs worked on. But they're saying they're good, so it's the choose your thought. So it's are they choosing that? They're choosing the resentment, they're choosing the anger, they're choosing not to let go. But by saying they're good, they're choosing a lie.
True.
So then
Absolutely
we're back to
true.
truth. So that's where we move back to truth, right?
Everything,
'Cause that's what it is.
everything really goes around that, right? The funny thing you just said about, living in that past is if you're angry, then again, it's control or a lie, right? Because how could you be angry about something that happened in your past? I mean, I get it. I've been there. But if you think about it now, how could you be angry about something that happened
Knowing
in the
what
past?
you know now.
Like, what that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
What's the point?
No.
Right? Because I can't change it. I can't do anything about it. And we said earlier, the best quote ever was, forgiveness is saying that it happened. But it happened in my past. It's in my past. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying it happened.
Acknowledging it happened.
Yeah.
Not
that's
saying
forgiveness.
it's okay that it happened.
Yeah, but you're not going to live there.
But
and
you
be
have to let
angry.
it go.
Yeah, and you choose that. You choose to let it go, or you choose to be angry. You choose to be like, yeah, whatever.
So
But
we're into choosing emotions and thoughts, which
and
they're
your life,
intertwined.
essentially,
They're
yeah.
right.
And again, I get it. When we talk about depression and all that kind of stuff, sometimes you can't choose. Like the example you gave, you're in your house and you're bummed out and you lost your life essentially and the love of your life. I get it. Sometimes you can't choose that. Sometimes you have to go through that process of depression, and you need to get help and get out of that eventually. I totally understand. Or, you lose a child. Or, oh yeah, you'll be okay, just choose your emotion. Really?
No.
Like that shit ain't gonna work,
No.
right? You gotta let people go through their process and do their thing, but you also support them in doing that. And you choose to do that too.
Right.
So anyways, I think that's a good segue into going to the next thing and shutting this one down. What do you say?
I think so.
right.
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks for watching The Knot. This is the He Said, She Said segment. We appreciate your support and look forward to the next one. Thank you.